Hey guys, Brian with Thunder Laser USA. We've been talking about focus, or you may have heard talk about focus, focusing into a material or defocusing, a little bit farther away from the material. And I thought I would just go over a little bit of basics on the focus. Now, on autofocus, what happens is with the 2-inch lens only, with it all the way up into that stop, where the stop nut or the stop ring engages the head all the way up till it stops. If you use your autofocus, it's going to put the surface of material on the focal plane. Now, again, this is just for the 2-inch. You do not use autofocus for the 4-inch or the HR head. So when you do that, it'll focus the material, and you'll have a 6mm gap from the nozzle to the surface of the material, which is the focal plane. And let's say, for instance, you were going to autofocus a 6mm piece of wood or material, and it's about 1/4 inch. And so this is what would happen. For engraving, that's fine. For cutting on the 2-inch lens, that's probably fine. You can probably cut without focusing in. Now, if you really wanted to, you could focus into the material, because if you'll notice, the way the laser beam comes out, it hits the lens and then it starts to converge, and it'll come to a fine point right here, and then it starts to diverge again. Now this is exaggerated, but that's how it works. So this is why the focal plane is so important. This is the sweet spot of the beam. This is the finest, hottest, most uniform, densest part of the beam. So that's where the focus is. So let's say, for instance, you wanted to get a little bit more penetration on this 6mm MDF, let's just say. So we can focus in the middle of it. So what that means is either raising the bed up 3mm or dropping the head 3mm. Now, if you're using a camera, you raise the material up 3mm towards the head, you've changed your focal plane of the camera. So whenever I use the camera, I always not the lens calibration, I always align it where you shoot the projections, and actually do those crosshairs and select them. I always autofocus the material when I do that, and whenever I use the camera, I always autofocus, so that I don't have to worry about that alignment getting out. So anyway, I didn't mean to jump down another rabbit hole. So now what we've done is put the best part of that beam, the focal point of that beam, dead center of the material, which means we only have a 3mm gap here now. And again, you can do that manually, or you can do it by moving the Z table. I prefer to do it manually so I don't crash my head. So that's how that works. Let me move this 1/4 inch out of the way again, and that works fine for that. So let's try something that's 12mm, about a 1/2 inch. So what we'll do is try to focus with the 2-inch lens halfway into it. And when we do that, you'll notice that the head is going to contact the material. You can't focus that far. Now, what you could do is probably focus 1mm away and leave 1mm gap here, and you'll be 5mm into the material, which is almost halfway. So that would be close. And that would also get your air nozzle closer to the material, so that your air assist is more effective for the cutting process. Now, let's say that you have a 4-inch lens, and you want to focus halfway into that 1/2 inch material. With a 4-inch lens, you can do that because you have a 10mm gap to play with. So now you're truly 6mm into the material, and so your gap here is only 4mm, which also, again, gets you closer, gets your air assist a little bit closer. So that's what we talk about when we talk about focusing in. And here is why the 4-inch can be better with thicker materials. Now, let's look at a piece of 3/4 inch material. Let me back out here. 19mm or so. And let's try to focus that halfway. Now, you'll notice there's no way the 2-inch would even think about doing it, but now you'll notice that the 4-inch is now contacting. So what you would have to do again is just maybe come 1mm away, and you'd still be almost halfway. So that can still be beneficial, and you have to play with that, but always leave a little bit of gap here because the surface could be uneven, it could be bowed or something like that, and you could do a head crash. So you want to be at least a millimeter away. That's a little scary unless you have a perfectly flat material. So that's a little bit about how that focus works and focusing in. And real quick, when you defocus, what you're doing is actually softening the beam a little bit. You're getting your beam density a little softer, a little more even, and a little bit bigger, and then you can change your line interval to mess with that too, but that's a whole nother thing. So I hope that helps when you're thinking about focus. And we do have some other focus and head videos in the support system, so be sure and look at those too. Thanks. See you later.